What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Off the Rip. So the first playoff round kicked off this weekend in Charlotte, and dude, it did not disappoint whatsoever. We were blessed with some amazing racing, both in the 250 class. We saw Haiden Deegan just put on a clinic. He went 1-1 on the day. He came from behind or way back to first place, both motos. We saw Jett come back to racing. He came back like he never left. Tomac, it was so cool to see him up there and get a moto win. So just awesome stuff from Charlotte. A lot of crazy stuff happened as well. But let's get into it in this episode of Off the Rip. Man, there were so many wild moments from Charlotte. I'm just gonna run through them. So we saw a practice start pile up between Mookie, AP, and Jason Anderson. If you slow the clip down, you can see Malcolm's leg get caught in Anderson's rear wheel, and he actually got dragged, which was pretty gnarly. The rookie, Casey Cochran, yeeted himself over the bars in the rhythm section. We saw Jason Anderson take a nasty soil sample in the sand section, and then we were introduced to the little savage, Carter Gray, who went for one of the doubles. He actually overjumped it and crashed, got up, dusted himself off, and then he goes for the finish line and clears it. And for those that don't know, his nickname is Pumpkin Nuts. So he lived up to the name in the main event, goes for the finish line again and clears it. And it was just insane to see a 65 rider going for these big jumps. The danger zone was in full effect. We saw RJ Hampshire go down in the rhythm section. There were also some crazy saves throughout the day. We saw it in the LCQ with Dean Wilson and Jeremy Hand. Dude, those guys were inches away from colliding, but they saved it. So there was just a bunch of wild moments and wild saves from Charlotte. So we had the pleasure of watching some 65 riders hit the track, and dude, the sport is definitely in good hands. We are gonna see some crazy talent come through the sport. But the biggest thing from the 65 class was that Carter Gray got docked 2 positions for jumping the finish line during the main event. I'm not sure why he did or if they were told not to, but even if they were told not to, I feel like that's so whack. I don't see why you should put limits, especially if you're gonna invite 65 riders to this track. They're just trying to ride to the best of their ability. And if you're gonna limit them, then don't invite 65 riders to the track. Save it for 85 riders or for the futures class. But Carter Gray, he won that race fair and square. Dude, and he had the balls to jump these doubles. Like, that was sick to watch. Like, just for grown adults to just watch that and be like, damn, son, this kid is wild. Pumpkin Nuts is next level. So some quick things that we heard from Charlotte is that RJ Hampshire has a little bit of beef, has some tension with Haiden Deegan. We heard on the broadcast that he was kind of trolling Haiden in practice, and yeah, it seemed to not work whatsoever, especially in that first moto. He got caught in the danger zone. I think if you're gonna be trying to get into a rider's head like Haiden Deegan, dude, you gotta be consistent and you gotta be just as good as Haiden. Yes, he's a 250 Supercross champion. He rips. No doubt he can lay it down, but he's also not very consistent, and it showed in this race. So I'm sure he got humbled. Haiden even made a comment after the race saying RJ Hampshire's strategy didn't work.
I think Hampshire's yelling at me in qualifying didn't work.
It just seems like this kid finds any little thing to prove when he's out there, and it shows. And I love watching him ride, and I love watching that type of attitude on the bike. And dude, it's just sick to watch. But anyway, Julian Beaumer, breakout ride for him. I'm sure KTM has been praying for this ever since they signed him. Decent Supercross, especially being a rookie. I'm sure they didn't expect much out of him. But as we get through the season, I'm sure they're hoping to see better results. Let's see if he can keep the ball rolling going into the second round and the final. Maybe this will give him confidence, and we can just start seeing him up at the front and seeing what he can do. I was also super impressed with Joe Shimoda, who finished 4th. He almost finished 3rd, almost got himself on the podium. But dude, he just crashed at, was it Unadilla? And he broke his collarbone and he had surgery, got it plated. And I honestly did not even expect to see Joe Shimoda out there. I thought he was done for the rest of the season, but he was running up at the front, which I thought was really commendable. So he came back like he never left. So that's all from the 250 class. Let's move on to the 450s. So Jett and Eli are back, baby. Man, that second moto was just incredible to watch, and we've been looking for a battle or looking for excitement in this 450 class.
I've been praying for a fight. I mean, I'm literally waking up every morning and praying.
All motocross season, it's been boring to watch. Just Chase just run away with it every single race. So it's just been something motocross fans have been wanting to see, and they delivered on one of the best battles. So I'm excited to see what happens next race in Texas and the final. It's double points, so if Eli can pull off a win, it would be huge. But both Jett and Eli have made up a bunch of points in the Super Motocross points. So Jett is just 4 points back. Eli is 12 points back behind Chase. That being said, some of the riders who are leaving Charlotte on a positive note. Jett, as we can see, he's back, got the confidence. Eli, he's back, he's ready to throw down in Texas. Ken Roxon had a nice rebound for him, especially in that second moto. He ends up 5th on the day. And then Colt Nichols, who had to qualify for the playoffs, he went to the LCQ, he got 4th, barely made it in, and then he ends up 9th overall on the day. Now he's 16th in points, in the SMX points. So big turnaround for Colt, especially after missing Supercross and Motocross rounds. Some of the riders who kind of are leaving Charlotte with their head down. Chase Sexton's right at the top. He blames it on the bike not being able to hang on after 10 minutes.
I can only ride the bike.
We'll see if he can get the KTM right and dialed for Texas. His teammate Aaron Plessinger, we saw, had a crash on Friday. He had that pile up on the practice start. We saw that he kind of walked away from that with a hurt leg. I'm not sure if that's the reason why he didn't do too good. I thought he was going to do a lot better. Cooper Webb, another rider, the hometown boy, finished the day with a 10th overall. I'm sure him getting docked 6 positions in Moto 1 did not help whatsoever. Jason Anderson, he wasn't even able to line up due to that practice crash on Friday. And then lastly, Phil Nicoletti, who had a solid top 10 result in Moto 1, crashed out in Moto 2, so I'm sure he's looking for redemption in Texas. So that's all I have from Charlotte. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll be here on Off the Rip next week to talk about Texas, Fort Worth, baby. See you guys. Peace.